Several years ago, when myself and my fiance were just starting to conceive of the idea of buying a house, we were living in Southern California. Our rent was, we were living in the cheapest place we could find, paying $2,100 a month for a 3-bedroom average place to rent. And there was no way we could get ahead like that. We were barely making it from month to month. And so we wanted to buy a house, but each of us had poor credit. Well, why did we have poor credit? Are we losers? Are we lazy? Are we delinquent criminal people who don't care about paying our bills? No, we're actually both very, very hardworking people who've done everything we can to get ahead in life and to do the right thing. But the system is set up for people to do the right thing and still not get ahead themselves, but instead to work as hard as they can so the money will go into someone else's pockets. So one day I was having a conversation with my boyfriend, and he was getting very, very discouraged. And he was saying, we're not worth anything. We're completely worthless people. And I was like, sorry, but speak for yourself. How could you say we're worthless people? And he said, well, if you walk into a bank, in the eyes of any banker, you and me are worthless because we have lousy credit scores. So when I heard him say this, it was actually devastating to think that somebody, especially someone that I really care about, could think of themselves in such a way based on outside source, some agency somewhere who has come up with some kind of formula to assign a number to a human being in order to assess their worth. And not only is it amazing that this can be allowed to happen, but it's also more amazing and pathetic that this can then impact somebody's self-esteem. After thinking about this for quite a while and talking to lots of people and observing, I realized that this is the way that most people think. Most people are basing their own worth, or at least part of their worth, on how good a credit score they have. And you really have to look at what is really going on here, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I am not a financial expert, but I am somebody who's woken up from this game that we're playing. A lot of people now realize a lot of crazy things that are going on out there, but they are still playing what I call the credit card game, and it is an absolutely destructive, evil game that we have got to wake up from. Now, a couple decades ago, when the Fair Credit Reporting Act came out, this was established, supposedly, so that banks and creditors would have a way to determine who would be most likely to pay back their loans. If you read the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you will see language in there that says, well, basically it's saying that citizens have to be held accountable, and they have to be held accountable to pay back their debts. It's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act because supposedly it's fair, because if people get a bad credit score and this impacts their future privileges, then they can appeal it if there's something inaccurate on there. They have a process they can go to question what's on their report. Okay, well, that sounds fair. But really, if you look at how this whole thing is set up, it is absolutely 100% not right. Because what's going on here is not only does the credit report reflect any outstanding debts, but it also reflects how much a person is willing to obtain debt, how much they're willing to go out there, get a credit card, risk everything that comes with signing up for a credit card or for signing up with debt. And, in the best of times, for the most organized people, people who are financially well off or not just living month to month, people can do very well living with accruing credit cards, paying them off on time. There's some people who obviously know how to deal with this and even work the system. And excel at this. But the majority of Americans are not in that position. So once we sign up for credit cards, once we hit some hard times, Americans, people everywhere, the first thing that they are concerned about is paying their mortgage, paying their rent, paying the utilities, buying food, and medicine or medical care for themselves and their kids. It's their survival needs. So the first thing that is going to go, if you have to make a decision between your mortgage and rent or paying your credit card, you are going to pay for your living expenses. And therefore, you will get behind a little more each month. They'll start tacking those fees on. And before you know it, you're going to be thousands of dollars in debt, in credit card debt. And that is exactly what the credit card companies want. Now, this isn't news to people. We already know, the reports have been out there that people who run these credit card companies, who are basically the same as the banks, they'll have meetings to discuss who is most likely not going to be able to make the regular payments, and then they'll market to them, whether it's single mothers, college students. They want people to have as much debt as possible. I mean, pay back some, but pay back a lot more than they would have if they just got the credit card and paid on time, because really they're making their money when people pay the late fees and the over the limit fees. And you get the over limit fees after you haven't paid for a while. The amount goes up, and before you know it, you're over your limit. So if you think about it, it is a fact. You can go to any mortgage broker, you can go to anybody who attaches a good credit score to a certain privilege, whether that is getting a mortgage for a house. These days, even being able to rent a house, you actually need to have a good credit score. So essentially, if you don't have a good credit score, or this is the line of reasoning, and I'll get to how things are starting to change just in the last couple months, but basically, you are going to be denied the privilege, or have the likelihood of being denied the privilege of having any place to live. Not only that, but employers can legally look at your credit score for certain jobs to determine whether or not you're able to and qualified to actually get that job. Even these days, renting a car. It used to be that if you had a credit card and an ATM card and a driver's license, you can rent a car. Now, various rental car places are actually wanting to see your credit report first. So while renting a car may not really be a necessary privilege for survival, definitely the other things that I discussed are. And the fact that your credit score is going to be lowered, and you're never going to be able to get it higher if you do not obtain a credit card. Essentially, the credit card companies are telling you that it's like it's not really any different than the mafia on the streets coming to you, a bunch of thugs coming to you saying, if you want to be able to survive, if you want to have the things that you need to have in your life, then you need to pay us. You need to put yourself into debt, and know that if you get into this debt, it's going to be really bad for you, because it's going to go on your report, and you're going to stress about it, you're going to worry about it. Other people whoever wants to, basically can pull up your report and see that you are a bad, lazy, stupid person because you messed up and were not able to pay your debts. But if you want to get ahead, if you want to live somewhere, that's what you have to be willing to do. You have to be willing to get one of these credit cards, in which the interest rates are often 20% or even up to 29% these days. So how is that okay? How is that not absolute extortion? And why is it that our government is not doing anything about this? Why is it that people, everyday people like myself, are not speaking up about this issue? Well, I can tell you why they're not speaking up. Because they are absolutely ashamed. they are ashamed and embarrassed because they are still at the point of believing the buying into the whole game and realizing or believing that they have failed because their credit reports are not good. So the same people that are holding us hostage to obtaining this debt in credit cards are the same people that are connected in with rating us and determining whether or not what our score is. How is this that different from Nazi Germany when the government and a certain group of people, the elite, who were in power, could assign a number to a human being or assign a colored band to their arm? Basically, each one of us is walking around with a number on us. You might not see it on our shirts or on our faces, but it is so tied into who we are that now a whole new industry has popped up called the credit card protection industry. All you have to do is turn on any number of channels where there is a person with a very concerned looking face, probably more concerned than mine right now, saying to you, do you care about your identity? Do you care about protecting your identity? What if someone uses your identity and then it ends up on your credit score? So they're telling you right there that they're attaching your own identity as a human being to this credit card score number. Basically, my hope is, and I didn't even have this hope a couple years ago, I didn't see an end in sight to this, because if I even brought the subject up, people were either shocked or they would say to me, oh, I'm sorry you're having financial problems. I'm sorry you're having such a hard time. Now, where I would be like, I'm not talking about this for myself. I'm saying we need to wake up here. Why are we letting people do this to us? The people, again, we will pay our rent, we will pay our medical bills. People with a lower credit score are not lazy, stupid, worthless people. They are people who have decided to take their whatever limited resources they have and put it where it matters. The thing that you can do is look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I am worth more than my credit score. I am worth more than how much money I have in the bank. I am worth more than what my job title is. I am worth more than what title I have on my business card, or what kind of car I drive, or what neighborhood I live in. I am a human being, and I am worth what I give to others. I am worth what I create, what I put out, what I say, what I do, and who I am. We've got to start there, and we've got to wipe out this whole system, the whole credit reporting system, and start over with a new idea how we're going to handle things. And you know what? I think that if people start speaking up about this, realizing this within their own lives and about their own selves, and pretty much over time, unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is that out of that 20% that does have a great score and is organized and can play the game well, another 10% of those are going to go down within the year as more and more people are foreclosed on, to the point where it's not going to matter, because most of us are going to have a lousy score, including the United States. And then maybe we can start over.